What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian, as we continue to dive into Boston's NBA offseason. And if you tuned in yesterday, I told you it was a little quiet around the NBA, a little too quiet. And then without fail, some chaos started. We've got some superstars saying, I don't know if I want to be on the team I'm on anymore. That could absolutely impact the Boston Celtics. And we got, of course, your comments when we wrap up. But do me a favor before we get started. Just hit that subscribe, baby. We're cruising towards 2K. Appreciate all the support as we've continued to grow. Let's keep it cooking. You know who wants to cook this year? Peyton freaking Pritchard. Did a great interview with Chris Forsberg. I highly recommend everybody checking it out. I believe it was over on, I don't know if it was CLNS, wherever Chris Forsberg's doing his stuff. But one of the quotes that I wanted to pull from it was he said, "We're definitely trying to be a playoff team. We're trying to win the championship. It's not even about the playoffs. We have one standard in Boston, and it's to win the championship." Now, I love this from Peyton Pritchard. I do. And before, I'm going to throw a little cold water on it. I think all of the players feel that way. You know, when a team does a gap year, or if a team is trying to lose to get, a higher draft pick, it's not because the players are trying to lose. It's never the players. The players never want to be put in a situation where they're told to not win the game, to throw the game. That's not how it's happening, right? They're going to go out there and they're going to do their best. A lot of them are playing for contracts. They're playing for incentives. Like if you hit X amount of threes, you make an all-star team, whatever. All that stuff helps your contract, not just the contract you're in, but then the contract you're going to get next year. If they're going to take a gap year, it's because of the front office. It's because it's like how the roster is constructed. It's who they bring in, it's who they don't bring in, it's how they're coached, all of those things. So I don't think it's too surprising for Peyton Pritchard to say, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to win basketball games, baby. But I do think with some of the shakeups coming around, I'm starting to change my mind a little bit, and it makes me curious how the Celtics are going to, what if they're going to do anything between now and October as we get closer and closer to teams reporting to camp. But I just want to throw some Peyton Pritchard stuff at you, because I do think there is a chance we see a big Peyton Pritchard leap, and I mean there has to be, right? If Pritchard wants to live up to the comments that he just made, he's going to have to take a bigger leap. So for a career, Peyton Pritchard's averaged 9 points, 2 boards, 2 assists, whatever. Last season, when he was the sixth man of the year, played 80 games. He averaged 14 points, just under 4 rebounds, just over 3 assists, shooting 47% from the field, 40% from 3, 84% from the line. But let me throw you 2 more numbers at you. Peyton Pritchard averaged, without Jason Tatum on the floor, averaged 18 points, almost 5 rebounds, and almost 5 assists. Now, one more. With Jrue Holiday off the floor, he played 20 games with Jrue Holiday not playing. Averaged 17 points, 5 boards, and 5 assists again. So basically, if you took off one of the main guys, actually, let me throw Jaylen Brown's stats in there too, because I wonder if it's also very similar. Because we did Tatum and we did Jrue Holiday. Without Jaylen Brown, there's only, he played 31 games without Jaylen Brown since 2004, and he averaged 16 points, 5 assists, and 4 boards. So he basically averaged 16 or 17, 5 and 5, without at least one of those key guys playing. Now, 2 of them aren't playing pretty much the entire year, right? You also take Porzingis off, Al Horford off. There's just more shots to go around. I really do think, and I know everybody's jacked up for Anthony Simons. I haven't really included that into these numbers, right? With another ball dominant guard who can shoot the 3 ball as well. I do think if the Celtics are going to take some sort of leap, it is going to be because if they're going to compete in the Eastern Conference, it's going to be because Peyton Pritchard has a leap year. Yes, Jaylen Brown obviously has to be an MVP type caliber guy, but Peyton Pritchard has to be the next man up, in my opinion. I know Derek White is going to do Derek White stuff. Derek White, an incredible team defender, on-ball defender, a great 3-point shooter, right? Derek White's going to do his Derek White stuff. I'm sure his numbers will get ticked up a little bit. But I think Peyton Pritchard has to be the guy. And if he's able to do, a 25-5, 27-5, maybe we see some more assists out of the guy because he's going to have to play some more playmaking style point guard. I do think that gives them a chance because again you're taking, let's see, I should have had this pulled up already, but if we look at it right, so we have to make up now Tatum's points. What did Tatum average last year? Wasn't it at 28 points per game? So 27 points per game from Jason Tatum. We've got Porzingis, I believe, averaged like 16 points per game. Let's see what he did. 20 points per game. So that's now we've got 46 points per game that we have to make up. Al Horford averaged let's see, 9 points per game. So it's 54 points we have to add up. And then Drew Holiday, I know that was a low number. Drew Holiday was 11 points per game. So I now have lost 65. I think we're at 65 points per game that needs to get made up. That's a lot. That's a lot of points. And so Peyton Pritchard has to be the guy. I really do. I believe this. And I think he has it in him. I do think there is like a fringe all-star case for Peyton Pritchard this year. If the Celtics heading into the all-star break flirting around with that like top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, it's going to be because Jaylen Brown's averaging like over 26 points per game, and it's going to be Peyton Pritchard averaging just around 20. But again, if you get him up to 25-5, let's do it, Peyton. I want to see it. We could see the 3-point percentage come down a little bit. 40% is a big number. I think he's going to be well, you know what? He took him on volume last year, right? Because didn't he average like 8 a game or 8 attempts a game? So if that is the case, I mean, maybe that stays up near 40%. I don't know. Curious how people feel about Peyton Pritchard. It seems, based on the comments from previous videos that we've done, that the community feels a little bit more strongly about Anthony Simons being the guy that steps in. I think Peyton Pritchard should start over Anthony Simons. I do. I think Anthony Simons gets the nod on playmaking a little bit. I think he's a better playmaker. I think Pritchard's a better rebounder, a better defender. It's crazy to say Pritchard's a better rebounder, but he is. He's a good rebounder, better rebounder, better defender. I just think he's going to be the starter. But again, curious to hear what you guys think about that. One other thing too, I wanted to throw out there. This is not on the rundown, but it's about Jaylen Brown and another Jaylen. Jason Tempf I always pronounce his name wrong, so I'm sorry, Jason. Of Volume on the Volume Sports Network. He has his podcast, Hoops Tonight, I think it's called. I might have just gotten all of that wrong. But he had a clip going around yesterday that he thinks Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder is already the best small forward in the league. And I don't know. Do you think that? Are you basically saying you take Jalen Williams over Jaylen Brown right now? Do people feel that way? I think J-Dub is incredible, and maybe you could make the argument that J-Dub has a higher ceiling than Jaylen Brown, like career-wise, because he's still so young, and he's already an NBA champion, already dropped 40 points in the NBA Finals, right? Like, we've seen J-Dub do some incredible stuff. I think I would give the nod to J-Dub as a better defender. I think he is going to be a better defender. He's got, like, not defensive player of the year, but, like, he's going to be an all-defensive guy pretty regularly, I think. But I don't know if I would be taking him straight up over JB. I think JB is a better offensive player right now, right now. I thought that was an interesting conversation. Curious if other people feel that way. I don't know. That comment felt disrespectful towards Jaylen Brown's game already, and that's obviously not what it was intended to. But I think JB is still in that conversation for small forward. But to anoint the guy, I mean, it's a good sign for the Oklahoma City Thunder, man. If they're saying they've got the MVP and the best small forward in the league, yikes! All right, let's talk some Giannis stuff because Shams. I don't know. Do you think the ESPN was just bored yesterday? You think ESPN went out there and they were like, hey, we don't have a lot to talk about. So Shams was like, let's just say maybe Giannis doesn't want to stay in Milwaukee. But maybe Giannis doesn't want to stay in Milwaukee. And it seemed like that was put to bed a month or so ago, right? There was a lot of rumors. And then Giannis was like, I'm going to stay in Milwaukee, I think. And now he might not. And now there's rumors. And again, as Shams pointed out, we've seen trades happen like late in the season, right? You had the Damian Lillard trade just 2 seasons ago where Dame goes from Portland to Milwaukee. Drew Holiday goes to Portland. And then a couple weeks later, Drew Holiday rerouted to the Boston Celtics, right? So I don't think it's that crazy to say like, hey, maybe we're going to see some movement here. I don't think it would happen in the Eastern Conference. I think if he was to get moved, like if we really put our cards out there of where this could happen, it's probably the Western Conference, right? Which is very good for the Celtics because we're going to talk about the Sixers here in a second. And if Giannis all of a sudden exits stage left and heads west to the Western Conference, you've now eliminated Milwaukee of one of those scary teams for Boston. I also would feel so bad for Miles Turner if he got like talked into going to Milwaukee, signing with Milwaukee, and then Giannis is like, deuces. But I think it most likely is probably a Houston situation, right? We put together some Jaylen Brown to Houston trade packages a couple weeks ago. Houston has the most assets by far. The other curious one, I don't know if you guys saw this, and again, we talked about the Luka signing. De'Aaron Fox signed a max extension or almost max extension yesterday. It's like 4 years, $229 million. Are you mad about the Jaylen Brown contract now? $229 million for 4 years? You do the math. What's that, 56? I think he's getting like 60 at one point. Thumbs down. But anyways, could he be going to San Antonio? Could Giannis and Wemby be pairing up? They had to give Fox that extension before moving him, plus some assets. I don't know. But it's something to keep an eye on. It also, and the Celtics. The Celtics kept their powder dry. They were ready to make some moves. I don't think Giannis would be in a Celtics related trade. We did put some together, right? Obviously, Jaylen Brown would have to be included in that. I don't think they would do it. I don't think it makes sense. I think Jaylen Brown's going to be a Celtic for life, or at least for the next 5 years. So I don't think they would do that. But it's something to monitor. But that really does shake up the Eastern Conference, though. That really does. If you remove Giannis, I mean, it becomes so clearly the Knicks and the Cavs, and then the two young teams of the three younger teams of Atlanta, Orlando, and Detroit. And then it's wide open. And then the Celtics are firmly in that 6th seed unless you believe in Terry Rozier, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, and the Miami Heat, which I continue to not believe in, or like a Toronto Raptors move. So I don't know. I don't know how much smoke there is in the Giannis thing, but I like it. I like that there's smoke. I like that there's turmoil in Milwaukee. I want our rivals to be upset. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anybody has a preferred destination for Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think the likelihood he stays in Milwaukee would be my guess. But I don't know. It's fun. I'm enjoying the chaos. I don't think I want the Celtics trading for Giannis, though. As sick as it would be, I mean, like, listen, he's a top 3 player in the league. He's probably got like 4 years left in his super duper prime, right? But I don't know. I still think I get a little bit more excited about the idea of just building around the Jays. I know that makes me corny probably, because I'm sure a lot of you would be like Jaylen Brown for Giannis, because it would be like Jaylen Brown to a couple more contracts. Well, maybe not a couple more contracts. It would have to be a ton of picks, though. It would be Jaylen Brown, some young guys, picks. It would have to be a lot. But it'll be curious to see what the market's like. I think selfishly, send him to the Western Conference. That makes the East even softer when Tatum comes back. And then, man, imagine if you saw Wemby and Giannis playing together. That would just be nuts. 76ers suck, man. And it's funny that it keeps happening. It's getting to the point where it feels like bullying. They're almost like turning into the present day New York Yankees of the NBA, where it's like on paper they've got a lot of things that make sense, but every time they're in the news, it's for something super, super dumb, and they just keep losing games. Shout out the Yankees for getting me back into baseball. You think it's the Red Sox winning games that's getting me back into the MLB? Nah, it's the New York Yankees sucking, which has gotten me excited about baseball. But anyways, that is the 76ers right there. Joel Embiid, it sounds like he's not going to be good to go, man. Now, take this reporting with a grain of salt. It's from Brett Siegel of the NBA, Brett Siegel NBA on Twitter. Also, I think from not Hoops Hype, but Clutch Points. I don't know how accurate this stuff is, but it was reported, so we will also report it. Ready? This is the statement. Joel Embiid's knee is reportedly in bad shape, and he's likely to miss the start of training camp. Some around the league believe the Sixers regret extending him. Embiid has struggled getting back on the court this offseason, and there is growing concern. Listen, if Embiid is not, this is a bad sign. This is a really bad sign for the 76ers and the future. They're like their long-term and short-term future of Philly, because if he's not ready, he hasn't played in forever. What do you mean he's not ready to go yet? It's not like he had another procedure, I don't think, and yet he's still not ready to go. You had Paul George already have offseason surgery. McCain's coming back from injury. Maxey missed a ton of time last season. They are in dire straits here. And I think about Nick Nurse leaving the Toronto job and then taking that job, and it's like, God bless you, man, because it has just been just a dumpster fire since then. But if this is true, right, if the 76ers are going to be bad, and let's say there's just turmoil with the Bucks here, this does feel like a 6 seed minimum. And like, there's a world, and we'll get into some of your comments where the Celtics, Atlanta gets off to a funky start. You never know how injuries are gonna happen, right? I don't know. I'm starting to get a little bit more optimistic on this Celtics season than I was a couple of weeks ago. So call me crazy. Maybe it's the Peyton Pritchard comments. Maybe my guy Peyton Pritchard got me jacked up and ready to go. Fast PP. I don't know. I'm kind of in. I still don't think they should be rushing Tatum back. I kind of don't want updates on Jason Tatum for a while. I just like one day want to be surprised. We're like, good God, like a wrestling entrance or something. Like, good God, is that Jason Tatum music? I don't know why I gave John Cena. That was the only song that I had locked and loaded. I'm not really a wrestling guy, but I know my timeline was rock hard for SummerSlam this weekend. I don't know if it's because I was kind of close being in New York, but people were excited. But anyways, yeah, I'm in. I'm in on this Celtics season. I'm excited. Let's get into some of your comments from the previous video, but do me a favor. Hit the subscribe before we get out of here, will ya? All right, let's go. There's some Bowl love in there. Trial City. He said, nobody want to see... Oh, no, I'm sorry. Wrong comment. It's Lawrence Aubrey 980. Said, we should give Bowl another chance. Listen. The only way, I'm a Bowl guy. I'm a Bowl believer. If you have tuned into any of my other content on my daily show, the NBA Bit with Mike Zakarian on YouTube, go check that out. I've been a Bowl believer for a couple of years now, but I do think we are at the point of the Bowl experience that, if we decide this is a gap year, bring in Bowl. If you're trying to go on a little playoff run, if you're trying to compete this season, I wouldn't do it. He's a lot of fun, man. He comes in, he does crazy stuff. Just like tween, a spin move, turn around three. Like he's got 4 blocks, whatever. Like he can do some crazy stuff. But he's now been on a couple of different organizations where he can't stay on the court, right? So, I don't know. The Phoenix Suns were so desperate for anything last year, and Bowl got a run and not enough, right? So he played 36 games last year. He averaged 6 points and 3 boards a game. I don't know. 34% from 3, 52% from the field. But again, if you're trying to stink this year, hey, sure, why not? Why not? Let's have some fun. Let's see the big guy do some big guy stuff. I'm fine with that. But if we're trying to win, we don't need to do that. All right, let me get to Divine Comedy says every year the expert picks Atlanta. I'm sorry. Every year, the experts pick Atlanta to do really well, and every year they fail to live up to expectations. Yeah, that might be fair. I have been out on. Wow, look at that hair. Well, I apologize. I've not been in on Atlanta for the last. This is the first year that I've propped Atlanta up. I just think the moves they made this offseason. I think adding Kristaps Porzingis for basically nothing. Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Luke Kennard. They also get Jalen Johnson back. So, again, if it's not going to happen this year for Atlanta, Trey, mark it down right now. Bookmark this. 8:04 a.m. is when I'm recording it on August 5th, 2025. If Atlanta does not have a good year this year, Trae Young will be on a different basketball team for sure. But anyways, yeah, I understand the hesitation. I do think with the East being a little watered down this year, Atlanta getting better, I think it makes sense for them to be like a 50-win team. All right, let's get to this one. Nobody want to. This is Trail City. Nobody want to see Tillman. Stop it. Where is Bassey? We talked about Bassey 2 days ago, right? It depends what the Celtics want to do here. They have one roster spot open. Bassey said he wants to come to Boston. I don't know if they're keeping that open for Ben Simmons. I would take Charles Bassey over Ben Simmons every single day of the week. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Sometimes they go into camp a man short and figure it out there. I wonder if they do that. I think their number one priority is to save some money right now. So, but yeah, I'm in on the Bassey boys. Last comment, and then we will wrap it. AJB03 says an order for the next 5 years, because that's what we did yesterday. He said, give me Boston, Orlando, Detroit. I think I'm right there. I think I'm in lockstep with you. And then he said, question for you, which Celtic has the highest ceiling, most to gain from this gap year? Then he went on to say, also, some people get upset at the idea of the C's the C's taking a gap year. But even if they trade for a good big, they don't really have a choice without Tatum, do they? No, Okay, so let's do both of those here for a second. Let's do both of those. Which Celtic has the highest ceiling, most to gain from a gap year? I do think it's what we led with, Peyton Pritchard. I think Pritchard has the highest chance of like really popping this season, based on like because I think Derek White's numbers are going to go up. I think Jaylen Brown's numbers are going to go up, but I think we kind of expect that, right? So we already talked a ton about Peyton Pritchard, so I'll leave that there. Obviously, Anthony Simons, I think, is someone who has a chance to like really, because I mean, Simons is going to be hungry, and not only just for team success, which he hasn't played on a good team in a while, so maybe this will be exciting for him, but also for like his own personal benefit because he needs to get a new contract. He wants to get paid, right? So this is his chance to show the rest of the league and the Celtics that he can play good basketball on a good team. He's not just an empty stats guy on a bad team. So I think Simon's ceiling is pretty high. And then I'll throw Nehemias Queta out there. I will. I think Queta has a chance. He's like, we know he had the offseason surgery, but should be good to go. It's just arthroscopic knee surgery, but he should be fine for the start of the season. He's going to get the first crack at the center minutes. We don't have another center. Like we don't. I'm sorry, Luka Garza-Tillman. That's not, we don't. So if it is going to be him and he's getting first crack at it, if he can prove that he can stay out there defensively, knows his rotations, and can just rim run there, get like a good two-man game going with whether Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Simons, whatever, I think Queta's got some really, and Queta, excuse me, I feel like I pronounced that wrong in every time, but he's got some high upside. And then you said, but if they trade for a good big, they don't really have a choice without Tatum, do they? I mean, I think they would be. I think if they got a center, like even just a serviceable starting center, or Queta turns into be a serviceable starting center, I think, like as we discussed, I think they could finish anywhere from 3 to 5, 3 to 6, especially if Giannis is moved on in Milwaukee or if the Sixers fall apart. I do think that, and like I don't trust the Knicks in the playoffs yet. I don't. I know they beat us, but I still am not a Knicks believer. We haven't seen the Cavs get to the conference finals yet, right? And then it's going to be Atlanta. They haven't won a playoff series in how long? Since like since they destroyed Ben Simmons' career, right? So Atlanta hasn't been there in a while. Orlando, this core has not won a playoff series. Detroit has not won a playoff series. So you start getting into that like experience conversation. And if all of a sudden it's a 2-2 game, and even though the Celtics will most likely be on the road in the second round, you know, Jaylen Brown's been there before. Pritchard, White, they've all been there before. So I wouldn't be surprised if they conference finals. They would be super dogs, like huge dogs. I don't think they are favorites to come out, but I do think if they got a real center, they would have a little bit more of a ceiling. But I'm with you. I'm more team Gap than anything else. Even though today Pritchard talked me into the excitement. But let's call it there. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Hit the subscribe before you get out of here, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.